Hello, my name is Brian Edwards. I'm a skipper's ticket assessor. I've been doing this for over 11 years now. The whole idea of this is to make it easy for you to study without just getting stuck into a book and not really taking on the information. Today we're going to present it through 9 modules so you can break it down and learn at your own pace. The skipper, once he gets his recreational skipper's ticket, you're entitled to drive any size recreational vessel. As long as it's not commercial, there's no paying customers or anything like that. Recreational vessel is purely for recreational, so 70-foot Sunseeker you can go out and drive. Now once you get your skipper's ticket, you'll understand those rules. You can have a 10-year-old kid driving a boat without a skipper's ticket as long as it's not powered by a motor greater than 6 horsepower. And then from 14 to 16 they can get a skipper's ticket, but there's a restriction of driving at 8 knots and during daylight hours only. Well, firstly we need to identify who the skipper is. So the skipper is a person on the wheel, and you must always have your skipper's ticket with you. Duty of care and the responsibility always falls upon the skipper. So anything that goes on the boat, whatever goes wrong, will always fall back on the skipper. So you are the responsible person as the skipper. Infringements on the water are very similar to the road. So whatever you've been up to, the severity of your fines or your imprisonments or your cancellations or whatever they may give you is up to whatever you've been up to. So just like the road, behave yourself. Mooring areas are basically an area generally in a small bay where there are lots of floats that are anchored to the ground. Now you can only ever tie one boat up to one float. They're not designed to carry any long loads, huge loads. If the wind picks up, then you're all going to blow onto the rocks. So one boat per mooring, and you can only ever drive at 8 knots through those areas. General speed limits and the distances on the water, you'll need to remember it's all going to be 8 knots and 50 metres away from a person in the water, a moored vessel, a low river mark or jetty or wharf. Now also you can't go past another boat any closer than 15 metres doing faster than 8 knots. So 8 knots and 50 metres is the rule of thumb for your theory exam. Obstructions of navigation aids, channels, leads, anything like that, you cannot go and put your crab floats or your crave pots or your fishing nets or all that sort of thing. You cannot block navigable waters. What happens there is people will get their propellers stuck with your ropes and create a massive problem for them, and especially in dangerous areas. So don't tie your boats up into any type of navigation aid also. There's a fine right there, so if the police see you doing that, you'll get a fine. It's not safe to do so. Now also those channels areas, they can also be called a fairway. So it's not just called channels, they're fairways. So any sort of main thoroughfare is actually illegal to put your fishing gear in there. Limits for small vessels, which means you can't take a boat out of 3.75 metres out past 5 nautical miles. Now if you'd like to work out a nautical mile in kilometres, it's roughly about double, so slightly less than double, but if you imagine 10 kilometres off the coast, that's a long way to take a small boat out. So it is illegal to go past 5 nautical miles, so remember 3.75 metres. Accident and incident reporting. So if you have an accident that's made that boat unseaworthy, so unseaworthy would be if you've had an accident and you've got a small crack in your boat that allows water in, that is now unseaworthy. So that needs to be reported to the Department of Transport within 7 days. The forms are downloadable off the internet, so make sure you do that. If someone's injured or killed, then the police will get involved. Assisting people in distress. So if somebody waves you down and they've run out of fuel, you actually do not have to tow them. It's not your responsibility to tow someone that's out of fuel. Your legal obligation is to save lives only. So if you drive past somebody and their boat's on fire and they're in the water, you need to save them as long as you're not putting yourself, your crew or your vessel at risk. If the police pull up or the water rescue group pull up, then they'll wave you away and your job is done. But you simply cannot ignore the fact that you have to save lives. It is a legal obligation that no person shall navigate or attempt to navigate a vessel while under the influence of alcohol and drugs. Alcohol and drugs affect your ability to make clear judgments and process information. Safety on board. So as soon as your boat leaves the jetty, all body parts must be inside the boat. So you can't have your arms and legs and hanging out the boat. It's just very dangerous. If you have an accident, the first thing you'll probably hit will be someone's arm and leg, and that's not going to end well. So all body parts inside the boat when you leave the jetty.